Okay, this is Shad Johnstone. I did chapter 4, the concrete operations. This was a very challenging chapter for me, I think, because I didn't know a lot of the vocabulary, and I had to actually seem to treat it like it was a foreign language because I'm a German and Spanish teacher. I had to look up several words because the research shows that if you don't know 98% of the vocabulary, then you tend to not understand it very well. I read the first few pages a few times and realized I wasn't understanding it enough to write it down, so I had to look up several words. I even struggled reading the title, which was Action to Operation. I did understand the word action, I didn't understand the word operation, but in this context I had to look up both of those, and I came to this definition, which was action to operation basically means that a child starts to mentally do what they physically did before. After I understood that, this whole chapter seemed to make sense to me. I went down and I liked how Piaget divided into three stages. They didn't just focus on the concrete operation stage. They did focus on the other stages too to help see the transitions. And as you can see, I was like you. I made links to definitions of the words. So, for example, this one, I could click on semiotic, and I would have a Webster's Dictionary definition of semiotics, which greatly helped me when I was reading this text. Also, it helped me understand my own son, who is 8 years old, and some of the things that he does that I don't understand. It helped me clarify a lot of the things that he does. As you can see, I had very many blue things that I have links to. The first chapter was the most important one for me because it explained, or the first few pages was the most important to me because it helped set the stage for my understanding. I didn't understand words like evocation, and that helped me understand this chapter a little bit better. There are obstacles that are keeping kids from transitioning from action to operation, and one of the examples was the children can find their way to school, but when they're asked to make a model of that, they struggle to do so. And that is, they're still in the action stage and they're transferring to the more operations. Then it talks about the genesis of the concrete operations, the Union 2 classes. I had to rewrite this more for me to understand it. An example of that is the mother plus a father equals parents, the concept of opposites, opposite of addition is subtraction, reciprocities, which revert back to their original state. If you add something and then you subtract it, and it is back at the original state. There's also notions of conservation that these really helped me to watch the videos, and the assignment to put a video and then watch other people's videos really helped me understand these concepts. But I still did make some hyperlinks between that and these videos. For example, here's a conservation video. If it'll load. That shows some conservation tasks that help me understand these concepts. And how this stage of concrete operations, what the kids did, how the kids reacted to these tests. There's the serration video. I just kind of rewrote it in my own language, according to decreasing size. They can compare A and B and then B and C and deduce the A's relation to C without comparing the two. There's also classification, which kids can classify red or white squares and circles in 4 compartments according to 2 dimensions, whereas kids that are younger are not able to do that. There's also the numbers that kids that are younger than 7 have trouble with serration, that like 1 is greater than 2 is 1 is less than 2, which is less than 3, and doing that. There's also the space, which kids of 7 to 8 are starting to be able to measure. They can take smaller parts and add them up to bigger parts to measure things. There's also speed. Children that are younger don't understand the concept of speed. They look at the finish. Kids that are older can understand that if an object overtakes another object, then it is moving faster. There's also time, and I noticed that on the internet there's a lot of clocks called Piaget clocks, and this is when children at the age of 8 start to understand that the speed of the clock and how it works, and things like temporal metric, where something is in motion longer, it has gone farther. Then we got to the representation of the universe. I had to look up causality. That really helped me understand this, and watching the causality video. There's a link to that. Then, it talks about how children have an egocentric view of the world. I remember this myself when I thought that the moon was chasing me, and going through that stage, and in becoming older, that I realized the moon didn't have anything to do with me, and it wasn't really chasing me, and it wasn't following me. There's also, kids understand that when sugar beads are dissolved into water, they don't disappear. They're just dissolved in the water. Little kids don't get that. They just think it disappears. Then we get into the social and affective interactions. I had to look up affective. That really helped me understand that it's an emotional thing that the kids are developing. And I helped me understand a lot of the relationship between my son and I, and how he views social and our affective relationship. And then it talks about socialization, how kids learn with games and marbles, and how they view the rules and how they actually play. Group actions. There's a Nielsen study where kids observed how they were collaborating. Some were finding it easy and some were finding it difficult. And then this is the one that I thought was the most interesting, was that kids 4 to 6, they talk to themselves. They don't listen to the others when they're collaborating. And I actually have a 4 to 6-year-old, and I got to try that out to see what she will do in this situation. I'm going to have her try to collaborate and see what happens. Then when they talked about moral and feelings and judgments, this is very interesting, because these are things that I want to instill in my own children, and it helped to read about the Baldwin, and that a lot of it is imitation, that what I do greatly influences them. and helps them develop these things. Then we get into the genesis of duty, which we can tell kids don't lie, but they don't figure it out till later why we don't lie. In the heteronomy, which I hope I'm pronouncing these right, which outside influences, and how we do influence kids, and there's also, I had to look up ambivalence. That helped me a lot to understand this chapter, and also about moral realism, which it was interesting. They had this kid that he was feeling sick, but his mother told him not to do something. He still felt obligated to do it. And then I looked up autonomy. That helped me understand this little section a lot better, where children learn to govern themselves. And it's interesting how the younger children consider rules sacred, and after 7 it's like an agreement to play the game. And like I said, this was a very interesting chapter for me. I had to work really hard to understand it, and actually enjoyed it quite a bit. It wasn't what I'd call fun, but Germans tend to separate fun and joy, and I did enjoy this, and I learned a lot and helped me understand learning a lot better. Thank you. Bye.